So this is right outside one of the major football stadiums there in Spain, and by football I mean soccer for Americans. But the scenario was that we had Topley. He's stuck right up there, and we had to go get him. The rules were we couldn't launch or throw lines up and build retrievables and just ascend. That'd be too easy, right? And it's competition. You got to play the game. Rules were we had to aid climb up. You had to aid, and you could only use the diagonal structures right here. You can see that's me right there on the diagonal. But there was a lot of aid climbing at this comp, so we're aiding, and I'll do the next scenario I'll break down is the other quote unquote aid that we did. So yeah, diagonal aid right here, which as you can hopefully assume means you had to use some kind of choking system to make any kind of progress. All right, so here was my rig for access. It's a pretty clear picture for the most part, without being right next to me anyways. So my setup here, but I've got a cow's tail connected right there. That one's an adjustable. That's the Aide Switch Pro, and this is a Scalotech Dynamic cow's tail. Those are both connected to my ventral point on my harness. And then because I'm work positioning over and over and over again as I move, I didn't necessarily need a fall arrest point, so I don't need the sternal attachment or the dorsal attachment. Obviously, they don't even really believe in the dorsal attachment at all in Europe. They, in fact, discourage it pretty strongly. Personal opinions aside, this is my quote-unquote Grion or positioner lanyard is on the top, and that's what's actually holding my progress, and it is just double wrapped clean, and you can try to visualize this right here. I've wrapped my Grion around twice, and then this bottom leg right here is wrapped over the first pass, so it creates kind of an X across that pole, which locks you in. It makes kind of a silly friction hitch kind of deal, which I like doing it that way. So I'm 2-to-1, like kind of a moving rope system for my ARB friends. And then my progress capture device, or my positioner, is the Camp Wizard Pro, which I like a lot, especially for this. It has a little trigger function on there, so you can make really quick adjustments very easily on this type of climbing. And then both of those, so the end of my Grion and then the Wizard Pro are both connected to my ventral attachment point on my harness. I would have absolutely loved to have had a bridge right here. So like the Camp Triaxis XT would have been so nice here, because I would have clipped this to my lower Ds and been able to suspend myself vertically, because you can't clip to your side Ds and suspend yourself vertically. So I had to put everything on my ventral, which just ended up as kind of a cluster right there in the middle. Anyways, you step in one of these. So I have an Atria or a soft ladder right there, and then I just had an adjustable foot tape. That's the Scalotech Black Mamba adjustable, which I like quite a bit. It's probably my favorite piece of kit from Scalotech right now. Those two things, I really like having one Atria at least for aiding. You can climb with one or both feet, but you need to keep 2 points of attachment at least the entire time. I could have done this with only one of these slings attached to that pole, and which I do at any point when I make this junction up here. This is incredibly physical, and this was our second scenario of the day. So I got smoked early in the day. I'm patient access, which takes a minute. I think it took me 40 minutes to make it to the top, which is pretty disappointing personally, but it was a tough aid. And the whole time I'm talking to Topley because he's responsive, and I'm trying to maintain verbal patient care as best I can. He's just a guy stuck up there. He got up there, but he doesn't know how to get down, which is weird, but that was the scenario. So this little yellow cord right here is a tagline for me to pull up the rigging when I get to the patient, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I have that preloaded in a micro traction so that I can hold the progress. All right, so here's me, Buck, and Topley fighting it out at the top right here. So with that tagline, you can see that little yellow line right there. I pull all the rigging up, and then they had ropes pre-gamed on a plate. All I had to do was find 2 slings. And then the rules for the competition were I had to capture separate members, with each sling. So I had one on a horizontal and one on these diagonals that go out to the corner of that pavilion. We have to do a pick-off. He is in his chest ascender, so we have to actually raise him. And we actually ended up, because we didn't tend the rope, so lesson learned, we didn't tend the rope below Topley's ascenders at all. And there's 60 foot of rope weight under it. So we just ascended for Topley. We just made him climb up the rope and ran him into the knot, so we had to fight with that. So once I had the rigging up, the team on the bottom hauled Buck up, so he didn't have to climb, the sorry sucker. He just got a free ride up to the top, and then he had to ride down with the patient, so we just picked Topley off, put him in the system, and it's just a diagonal tension lower, so we essentially had tension lines or track lines like statically with through DCDs in the bottom side rigging, which is anchored on our rental van once again, which we absolutely love. Doesn't make you nervous at all. And then they had 2 controls redirected through pulleys at the top. Plugged Buck and Topley into those, and then just zip lined them down. It was a relatively easy pick. So we've got him picked. That's Topley's sternal. You can see the A there, sternal attachment point, and we put a quick draw from the rigging onto Topley's sternal attachment point. Buck is also attached to those, and yes, we did put the quick draw through both connections, and then Buck took one of his cow's tails up through the rigging also. He's in the process of DCing all of this anyway. And then you can kind of see our tension lower setup right there. The red and purple right here are the track lines, and then the blue and white up there would be the controls. Yeah, and we didn't use a plate or anything right here. We just went straight to the beckets. So those pulleys, those are the Rock Exotica Omnis, and they're 2.0s, and the beckets are just big enough to fit 2 and even 3 connectors inside it. So there was really no need for a plate, and that gained us that much more throw. If we had a plate in here, we'd lose roughly 3.5 inches for that pick that we struggled with so much anyway. Here's the bottom side rigging. Like I said, we're just anchored off the tire there. Wraps we'd use the X Monster slings. Those are the track lines, and then the blue and white right here with the captos on it are the controls. And we actually used the controls for a large portion of the pick. But the interesting part right here are these really clever resets. So on the captos, you can only barely see it, but that same yellow cord that I used to tag all the rigging up with, we just flopped ends on the other side, and they plug the captos into those. So I am up top the whole time they're hauling, doing the resets. All right, so at the very end, I had to clean all of the gear from up top after Buck and Topley made it safely on the ground. I get the all clear, I can DC all that rigging, and I just hung it off of me. This is actually Robert making the second attempt at this retrieval. I messed up this retrieval the first time. But yeah, I put my, when I messed it up, I put my retrieval leg over the wrong side, and it ended up just creating a knot up there when we went to retrieve. And so Robert was like, well, shit, I'll go fix it. So he jetted up there real quick and actually kind of hurt himself. I messed this up again because I told Robert what I thought was the solution. And he went up there and did that, clipped it in, came back down, tried to retrieve it, and it still wouldn't retrieve, so I messed it up again. Here one more time with every bit of gas that I had left, and we're getting down to like minutes right here, and I fixed it actually correctly this time. Got them back, and we got full points on this scenario despite the snags at the end. And then party time. You guys let me know what you think. Again, comment, DM with questions, whatever you got. I'm actually not hating doing these videos, so I think I'm down to keep doing it. Again, let me know. Thanks.